This week's data reminds us that there is still resilience in the Australian economy. Earlier in the week, we received updates on consumer sentiment and business sentiment. Encouragingly, both indexes improved. In particular, consumer sentiment rose by more than 2 points in September. When New South Wales and Victoria emerge from their lockdowns, there will be a recovery in economic activity, and that will also show up in the national economic story, and that recovery will be led by consumer spending. That lift in consumer sentiment suggests to us that we can be confident that there is pent-up demand and that it will be unleashed when New South Wales and Victoria emerge from their lockdowns. There is a two-speed economy happening at the moment. Other states outside of New South Wales and Victoria are still humming along quite nicely. But the New South Wales and Victoria economy make up such a large share of the output of the Australian economy that it is important to focus on what is happening in these two states. Business confidence also improved in the month of August, but it still remains quite downbeat. And that's reflected in the fact that over August, some businesses did start to struggle a little bit more. Interestingly, we also received an update on jobs data, and employment fell by nearly 150,000 in the month of August, which reflects some of these struggles that businesses are starting to feel. But the unemployment rate still dropped. In fact, it dropped to 4.5%. And that was because a large share of people dropped out of looking for work in the labour force. What we are seeing in the jobs data is that businesses are trying to cut the hours that people are working wherever possible, rather than laying off staff. And that's anticipation of coming out of lockdown, and also bearing in mind that the labour market was very tight heading into the lockdowns and that businesses were struggling with labour shortages heading into the lockdown. It's also likely that schemes like JobSaver are helping businesses hold on to employees. So we are seeing big adjustments occur through hours worked, and in fact in New South Wales, the level of hours worked is at its lowest since the pandemic began. We are likely to see a further adjustment in hours worked in New South Wales and Victoria, and also in employment numbers over the next few months, until we start to see a recovery come through later this year as these two big states emerge from their lockdowns.